Hey guys, I am Nick. I am here on Tuesday, May 19th to talk some Friday the 13th. Figure we talk Halloween all the time. I could talk Halloween every day. Let's change it up a little bit. Let's talk some Friday the 13th. Um, Obviously, if you don't know, this franchise just had its 40th anniversary about 10 days ago. So not last weekend, but the weekend before that, coincidentally Mother's Day weekend, which is pretty ironic considering the first movie started out as kind of a tale of a mother's revenge. So I just wanted to kind of get together, answer any questions you guys might have, and just kind of talk the franchise. Talk about some of the best movies, best moments, best kills. Obviously, there's a legal battle going on, which is going to affect things moving forward. Actually, it has affected things moving forward. So let's see where we're at with that, and then kind of decide where we think it should go. So getting into it right away. Look, like I said, this franchise has been through everything. It started out, with Mrs. Voorhees killing camp counselors at, a quiet camp in the Northwest, and it branched off, believe it or not, to Jason being in space, in hell, on Elm Street, dead numerous times. So it's just crazy where this franchise went. So a little bit about my history about this franchise is I enjoy, for the most part, especially the first four movies. I think they have the best tone and kind of the best atmosphere about them. They're very dark. So for me, if I had to choose to watch one, it would be one of the first four movies. And to be honest, probably out of those, 2 through 4. I personally think 4 is the best slasher movie ever made. Not the best horror movie, but best slasher movie ever made. I love part 3 because I love Richard Brooker as Jason. He's my favorite Jason. And part 2, Sackhead Jason, I think is pretty creepy too. Part 4 probably has the best collection of kills, in my opinion. But 3 and the second one also just have great kills too. Moving into after that, The New Beginning, I could kind of go either way on that one. It's not bad, but you can tell it was directed by a softcore porn director, and obviously it didn't have Jason, but you kind of got to take that out of it, pretend it's Jason. It was trying to do a little bit of a reveal like the original, but it failed miserably in my opinion. And it kind of, you could see from a mile away that it was Roy when you saw his reaction to whatever that chocolate bar kid's death is. Is that Joey? I think his name was. Yeah. Part 6, I know it's a fan favorite. I'm lukewarm on it. Don't hate it at all. I won't say I love it, but I like it. It was ahead of its time. Obviously, the Alice Cooper song, Man Behind the Mask, is awesome. The whole Tommy is awesome in that movie. So I do love Tom Matthews' performance. And then moving into the Kane Hodder era, I'm just not really a big fan of any of these movies. I know the 7th one, New Blood, got butchered by the MPAA. So it's hard you can't really hold that against it, but the movie's what we got, right? So it just doesn't really do it for me. Moving into Jason Takes Manhattan, everybody has said this a million times. It should be called Jason Takes a Boat Ride to Manhattan. Not a good movie at all. Jason Goes to Hell, if I pull it out of the Friday the 13th franchise and just watch it for what it is, it's entertaining as hell. It's a body snatcher type movie. It is entertaining as hell, like I said. But as a Friday the 13th movie goes, and it doesn't really do it for me. Jason X, same thing, kind of. It can be entertaining. It's a good movie to sit down with your buddies and watch beer and not really pay attention and laugh at some of the shit. A lot of crazy things going on there. I mean, it's fucking Jason in space, right? So what you can't really expect too much. But yeah, that's where I basically stand with most of the franchise. Freddy vs. Jason, once again, take it for what it is. It's kind of a love letter to horror fans, a comic book horror movie. It's a fun movie. What I'll say about that is Could have been worse. You know, it's a Freddy versus Jason movie. What we got wasn't all bad. I just prefer them in their own universes. And as far as the remake goes, hard to say. My opinion changes on this constantly. Sometimes I think it's really good. Sometimes I think it's really bad. So to be honest, it's a mixed bag. I do love Derek Mears as Jason, though. I like what they did with that. But overall, it's kind of for me. So I prefer the darker installments. So you got some questions here. We'll get into those in a minute. As far as best kills for me, the few that pop up in my head right away are Mark from part 2, the guy in the wheelchair. Awesome kill. We won't get into the physics of that because, you know, the machete's basically facing backwards. Jason, which way does he come from? He obviously has to come from the back. So does he have enough force? But anyway, we won't get into the physics of that. But such a great kill. You know, Mark's just kind of sitting there on the porch. You got the creepy music and then boom, machete to the face. And then what really sells it is the wheelchair going down the stairs. So that's up there for me. Andy from part 3, you know, the guy that's walking on his hands and Jason takes the machete and basically chops him in half from the fucking nuts. Awesome kill. Just fantastic. Special effects in that. You know, obviously there's no CG at the time, so it's all practical effects. Tom Savini, who we can't, I know he wasn't in part 3, he was in part 1 and 4, but it just kind of reminded me we can't talk about Friday the 13th without talking about Tom Savini. And getting into that, the next couple from part 4, I really like the Crispin Glover kill. You know, Ted, where the hell's the corkscrew? And then, you know, he gets the corkscrew on the hand. And then is that the meat cleaver to the face? Yeah, so that's a fun kill for me too. And then Kevin Bacon's kill is iconic. You know, the arrow through the neck is pretty good. So those are my favorite kills in the franchise. We'll get into some of the future of the franchise in a moment. Let's see what we got here. Sociopath Survivor says, I wish Mrs. Voorhees was a fighter in Mortal Kombat 11. I haven't played Mortal Kombat since I was a kid, man. I should get into that again. But yeah, that would be interesting. Master of Fear is here. Jason Richardson is here. John Bruce. All right. Jason Richardson says, I honestly didn't mind Jason X. Yeah, like I said, it's an entertaining movie that you can watch with a beer with some buddies and just kind of kick back and relax. Like I said, it's Jason in space. Who would have thought, you know, in 1979 or whenever they were filming the original, I know it came out in 1980, but who would have thought that, what is that, 23, I think 2003 was that one? No, 2001. Anyway, early 2000s, 20 some odd years later, that they'd have the little boy from that drowned in the lake would be the killer and he'd be in space. Like, who would have thought that? But yeah, it's got some obviously inventive kills. You know, the liquid nitrogen kill is obviously a fan favorite for good reason. So it's entertaining as hell. So I can see why you wouldn't mind that. Master of Fear, part 6 is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. Yeah, totally understand that. It's a lot of people's favorite movie. It's basically when they took the franchise and said, you know what? We know what this is. Fuck it. Let's have fun. I wish in 1986 I was old enough. You know, I was 4 years old. So I wasn't old enough at the time to go to the theater, although I was a year away from watching horror movies. But yeah, I wish in 1986 I could have seen that in the theater because it just had to be fun. You know, it was very meta before Scream. Way before Scream, 10 years before Scream came out, and was that 8 years before Wes Craven's New Nightmare. You know, it kind of knew what it was. It was meta. You had the what's it called? The American Express scene. You know, where it's floating in the water there, and was it Tom McLaughlin? Is that his name that directed the movie? But he said he put that scene in there just so people in the theater could say, "Don't leave home without it." So. You know, it's really ahead of its time as far as that, and you get a lot of kills. Obviously, it is the first and only Friday film that actually features kids at a summer camp, so that was pretty cool. Sociopath Survivor says part 3 and part 4 are actually my least favorite. Parts 1, 6, 7, and 2. Interesting. So we got a difference of opinion there. A lot to choose from in this franchise. Yeah, for me, 3 and 4. The reason they are my favorite, well, there's many reasons those are my favorites. But off the top of my head, the reason would be I just love the portrayal of Jason. I love Richard Brooker and I love Ted White. I think those are my two favorite Jasons by far. After that, there's a huge gap, and then it would probably go Derek Mears after that. But yeah, 3 as it holds a special place in my heart because it's the first one I ever saw. I was 5 years old. I remember going over to my friend's house and getting together and watching Friday the 13th, part 3, Lying to Our Parents. It's interesting because I actually think it has some of the worst acting in the series, which is saying a lot for this series. And actually, if you didn't know this, part 3 is the only Friday the 13th movie where the name Jason is never mentioned. So that's pretty interesting. The whole Chris rape remembering scene is weird. But actually, part 3 is my favorite final chase of any horror movie ever. Not any Friday the 13th movie ever. Any horror movie ever. So if you think about that final chase, Chris and what the hell is that guy's name? Rick go back to the cabin. All the friends are dead. Then Rick gets his eyeballs poked out with the shitty 3D effects. Jason throws Rick's body through the window, runs up the stairs. Chris dumps the books on him. She's in the closet, stabs him, jumps out the window. What does she hit him with a log and then runs to the car and then back to the barn. And one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise is when Jason enters the barn. He kind of locks it. He pushes the wood down so hard that Chris can't get out. And he doesn't know where she is, and she's hanging from the rafters. And you see Jason pissed off looking for her. He's tossing shit all over. It just really, I think Brooker did a great job showing Jason's personality in that scene. And then, she hits him with the shovel and hangs him. And then, when he lifts up his mask and kind of gives her that kind of crazy look, it's another job where Brooker's just taken his personality and installing some personality in Jason, which is obviously missing. And then part 4, the reason I love that is just like I said, I think it's the greatest slasher movie ever made. Just you got likable characters. Jason's brutal as hell. So yeah, those two are definitely my favorite. But if you don't like them, that's fine. Everyone's got their own opinion, and there's a lot of different types of movies in this franchise for you to enjoy. Let's go here. I give Friday the 13th a lot of slack. They made 8 movies in a decade. Yeah, think about that. That's incredible. 8 fucking movies in one decade. Bam, bam, bam. And other than what's his name, Steve Miner, who directed parts 2 and 3. I'm pretty sure they all had different directors. Steve Miner, who also actually directed Halloween H2O. But we won't get into that because I got some issues with that movie as well. But yeah, 8 movies in a decade is just absolutely incredible. Jason ruled the 80s. Freddy too, obviously, after 84. But Jason just dominated the 80s. I was a little kid. Like I said, I was born in 82. So I was born in the year Friday the 13th, part 3 came out. But I kind of remember the late 80s, and there were so many kids, dressed up in hockey masks for Halloween. It was crazy. So yeah. Let's see here. Sociopath Survivor. My favorite part in all F-13 movies is Maddie in part 7 saying, need a little touch-up work on my ass. I don't remember that part. What part is that? I'm trying to think. Yeah, I can't remember that part. I'll have to rewatch that one. Jason Richardson says Julia's head punched off was one of my favorite probably kills. Yeah, the head punch off that was kind of a good payoff for dealing with the absurdity of Jason Takes Manhattan. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. That's a fantastic kill. John Bruce, there's more blood in TV shows today than 80s horror movies. That is very true. Times have changed. It's 30, 40 years later now. So times have changed. Network television has, more blood than some of these 80s horror movies. One exception might be the Tom Savini Friday movies. But, the MPAA really, once all these movies started taking off, the MPAA, can't talk. But they really decided they didn't want fucking people watching all this blood and gore, so they decided just to give the studios crap all the time, and it really screwed us out of some good carnage candy there in the mid to late 80s. Captain Brandon Horlover. I love Friday the 13th Part 3D. Yes, me too. I was just saying that. Let's talk about those 3D effects for a moment. Obviously, they're dated. 3D was the big thing there. You had this movie, you had Amityville 3D, Jaws 3D. It was kind of the big thing at the time. Um, and if you watch the movie today, I've never seen it in 3D. I've only seen the shitty effects on DVD and Blu-ray and TV back when I was a kid. But it hasn't aged well in that respect. But the movie overall, like I said, I like it. It has its issues, but all these movies do. You gotta have some fun with them and just remember that it's a Friday the 13th movie. Let's see here. Sociopath Survivor. I'd love if they made a prequel of Jason drowning and Mrs. Voorhees killing everyone called Camp Blood or something. Someone had an idea for that. I forgot who, but I think it might have been Dave McCrae. Yeah, Dave's obviously got some solid ideas. That would be very interesting. In some ways, Mrs. Voorhees can be scarier than Jason. It's a little creepy to have some old lady in the woods, especially when she started luring. She lured, I can't remember the counselor's name, but she lured her out by saying, "Help me, help me." When the chick's laying in bed and she goes to investigate, and she's just some crazy old lady that's just nuts in the head killing people. It's almost scarier than Jason. It's certainly more believable. But yeah, let's see here. Captain Brandon Horlover, sorry, said, yeah, started with part 2. They were far too hard on the franchise. Yeah, the MPA was so hard on the franchise. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, they really screwed us out of some great possible Carnage candy in the late 80s. Jacqueline McEwen. Hey, Jacqueline. Says, if Friday the 13th is rebooted again, do you think they should have Mrs. Voorhees be the killer in the first movie or just go straight to Jason? That's a great question. Personally, for me, I would love to see Mrs. Voorhees again. However, I don't think they can do that just because Jason is basically the brand of Friday the 13th now. You could kind of maybe do what they did in the 2009 reboot, but have it be a little longer. For instance, maybe, how in the reboot, the first 20 minutes, which were awesome, by the way, my favorite part of that movie, first 20 minutes, the teaser with those kids camping out near Crystal Lake, and Jason obviously kidnaps Whitney. But that little 20-minute teaser before the credits roll, maybe they could do something like that with Mrs. Voorhees. It's just a lot of story and exposition. And to be honest, I think if they are going to reboot the franchise, I think that they'll probably just go straight into Jason and have the backstory of Mrs. Voorhees, blah, 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 similar to the 2009 remake, reboot, whatever the hell you want to call it. I think that's the safest bet for them, just because a lot of these movies, they're making for us fans, obviously, but in order to make money, they need the casual fan or the casual moviegoer to be excited. And having Mrs. Voorhees around killing for a whole movie or half a movie and having Jason not be there and ready for a possible sequel, it just might not make sense financially. And the studio might say, no, people want Jason. Because look at right now, it's been 11 years already. And Jason's kind of been dormant because of the legal battle. And, people are just begging for Jason. I think after all this time, having Mrs. Voorhees come back, although I think it would be cool, I just think it's too risky. That's an excellent question, though. Captain Brandon Horlover. I just recently showed my 6-year-old nephew, Liam, Halloween 2 and Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Part 8 is a weak entry, but I still got the original poster of it. Ooh, that'd be cool. The original poster of Jason Takes Manhattan. Although like I said, I hate that movie. I would love that poster. But remember back in the day, when this movie came out, the marketing was crazy for it. The guy was on Arsenio Hall back when he had his show. The guy, when I say the guy, I mean Kane Hodder playing Jason, was on Arsenio Hall playing Jason just sitting there, not saying a word. And people were just eating it up. That's how big Jason was back then. And he finally is away from Crystal Lake, and he's going to New York City, Manhattan. It's just crazy. But and then they don't tell us that the last 20 minutes of the movie only take place in Manhattan, and it's not even Manhattan. It's the alleys in Vancouver. Besides a couple scenes, in Times Square. It's just crazy how much they screwed us on that. But yeah, having the poster for that, I would love to have the poster for that. That's pretty cool. Sociopath Survivor. Do you think a major reason Friday the 13th was so successful might have been the shock value because the killer was a woman, considering the time it was released in 1980? I think that is a reason. Yes. And then some other movies piggybacked off of that. But yeah, I do think that is a reason. It's very interesting because if you look at the movie, it's a who done it, so to speak, right? But most who done it's, at least the good ones that do it right, you've actually met the killer before, but we never see Mrs. Voorhees. All of a sudden she shows up at the end, in the inner Jeep with the high beams on, to Alice. Saying, "Oh, I'm an old friend of the Christies." And even I'm trying to remember the first time I saw it. I was a kid, but I remember seeing it, and okay, right when I see her, my guard's down a little bit. And if it was a man, not being sexist or anything, but if it was a man, I'd probably be wondering, is this the killer? Is this the killer? But no, it hadn't been done before. So yeah, I think that shock value definitely played a major role. In the reason that original movie was so successful. It's kind of like shock value, like you said. So yeah, I agree with you there. Jason Richardson, how do you think Friday the 13th fan films stand up compared to the canon movies? Well, for instance, I haven't seen a ton of them, but for instance, I've seen a few though. Never Hike Alone. I would take that if that movie, if I had to rank all the Friday the 13th movies and include that movie, it'd probably be right in the middle. I'd have the first four, part six. Never Hike Alone then would be right in that next tier, if not at the top of that next tier, right in the middle of that next tier. So I think it's better made and more interesting than a lot of the crap ones in the Hodder area. Nothing against Hodder. I know people get all upset when I say negative things about him or his portrayal of Jason. But yeah, those movies obviously weren't very good. So I think Never Hike Alone, as far as fan films go, would be in the middle of all the Friday the 13th films. Sociopath Survivor, because Betsy Palmer even thought the movie was shit. She said so herself. Yeah, she did. In fact, the only reason she took the role was because she needed a new car, I believe. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. And she needed a new car, and she thought nobody would see the damn movie. And it's just crazy how life works and how ironic it is, that now you say Betsy Palmer and you think of Mrs. Voorhees. I think it took her a while to kind of come around to that. But I know before she died, she made peace with that and was very vocal at the conventions. I believe she started going to conventions. She would have died right at kind of the height of the convention scene a while back. But yeah, let's see here. John Bruce, I might be mistaken, but I believe the original hockey mask is gone forever. Yeah, it's very possible. I think you're probably right, John. Back then, people didn't really hold on to things like they do now from movies. Obviously, I mean, shit. Look at the original Michael Myers mask before the sequel. It was sitting in Deborah Hill's bedroom between a stack of magazines under her bed. So nobody really kept shit like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if the original hockey mask is gone. Jason Richardson, I like the Vengeance fan film and also the Return to Crystal Lake fan film are two movies I also liked. Ooh, I'll have to check those out. Yeah, I haven't seen those. It's amazing what fan films can do nowadays. Back in the day, it was just a quick little fan film in someone's backyard or some friends go to the lake, but now they're just so well done. They're almost like mini studio films that just use the IP for all these movies. So they really do a good job. So where do you guys think the that the franchise should go next. The way I see it, and let me know what you guys think. There's a few different options. So obviously we could have a sequel to the 2009 remake. We could have another remake or reboot like Jacqueline suggested. One interesting idea I heard would be kind of similar to Halloween 2018, except instead of a direct sequel to the original, they have a direct sequel to part 2. I heard that idea. I can't remember where I heard that idea, but that's kind of intriguing to me. So you'd have Sackhead Jason. Obviously he was, clipped in the shoulder with the machete by Ginny. And then her and Paul escaped, or she escaped, because, depending on which ending or which movie you're watching, she's like, "Where's Paul?" And, he's not there. But anyway, yeah, imagine a direct sequel to that. Almost 40 years later, Jason's still kind of out there. He's a kind of a hermit and hobbit, whatever you want to call it, in the woods. That could be interesting. And then one thing that I know I've heard probably for the last 15, 20 years, maybe longer, they've always talked about having a Friday the 13th film in the snow, which would be pretty intriguing to me. Especially because, just the blood splatter on the snow would be pretty cool. So I always thought that was a cool idea. You could even do it like I said earlier, with the first 20 minutes of the film being in the winter. And then you cut to, next summer, and it's just kind of like a long teaser in the snow. That'd be kind of cool. You have footprints and, blood splatter on the snow. Everything's a little slower. So that'd be pretty cool. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Let's see here what we got. What would you do if you could make the next Friday the 13th film? Says BBB Hardcore Spoiler Movie Reviews. Hey, how's it going? What I would do, to be honest, what would make the most sense to me, man, I would love to do the sequel to part 2. I would just absolutely love it. I just don't think there's not a market for it. What Halloween 2018 had going for it was a few things. It had Halloween purists just loving the original, and it had Jamie Lee Curtis coming back. Could you get Ginny coming back after part 2 40 years later? I don't know. She is my favorite final girl of all the final girls in Friday the 13th. She may be my favorite final girl of any horror movie ever. If not, she's definitely top 2 or 3. But yeah, if you did a sequel to part 2, kind of like Halloween 2018, I feel like you'd have to get Ginny back, but I just don't feel like there's the market for it. She's not a famous actress like Jamie Lee. And there's not that nostalgia vibe for Friday 2, mainly because it was pre-Hockey Mask, and Jason's just become so synonymous with the Hockey Mask. So if I had a choice, I would probably reboot it again. And I hate to say that. I hate to just reboot it again, but it would just make the most sense to me. If I were to do that, though, I would try to get Derek Mears back as Jason, because he was a pretty badass Jason. I guess if you get Derek Mears back, you may as well just do a sequel to 2009, because it's kind of a standalone film. So yeah, I'd probably either do a reboot or kind of like a sequel to 2009. Let's see here. Sorry, I lost my place. Michael Myers Reacts says, Never Hike in the Snow. Oh, that's right. I forgot about Never Hike in the Snow. It's a sequel to Never Hike Alone. Yeah, that should be coming out soon from what I heard. So that'll give us our snow, which is what I was talking about. That very exciting. Thanks, Michael Myers Reacts. I totally forgot about that. Jason Richardson, I want a hard reboot for the Friday the 13th timeline, honestly. Yeah. The Friday timeline is interesting. In a lot of ways, it is more cohesive than, for instance, the Halloween timeline, which, just retcons shit every couple of years or every couple of movies. It just says this movie doesn't exist. This movie doesn't exist. This trilogy doesn't exist, or whatever. One thing the Friday movies have is that they're all in the same timeline. But if you think about it, they're all kind of in the future. So if you think about the timeline, yes, they're all on the same timeline, but it doesn't really make sense if you think about it. Tommy, after part 4, the next movie came out a year later, but he's 6 years older or whatever. Then after part 5, he's 5 more years older, or however much older he is. And then you got part 7 with Tina. She's a little kid when she kills her dad in the lake. Is Jason still in the lake there? When did that happen? Was that before all these movies, or what? Was it when Jason was buried? What? So where does that take place? And then obviously in space, and then you got on Elm Street, you got all kinds of different shit going on. So the franchise, as much as they're in the same timeline, it's kind of a mess. So it would be nice to kind of reboot the timeline. I totally get that. Jason Richardson, I don't want to follow off the 2009 reboot. Yeah. Like I said, I don't know what else you would do at this point besides just unless you want to go the Halloween 2018 route. But yeah, I totally get that. The 2009 reboot is a mixed bag for a lot of people, myself included. So many things right, especially the portrayal of Jason, but so many weird things too, like keeping Whitney prisoner because she looks like his mom. I get it. He didn't, he was confused by Ginny because she looked like his mom. She was wearing her sweater or whatever. I understand what they were saying. The tunnels, I thought was an interesting idea. It was at least new and kind of cool, but yeah, there's just so much of that movie that's just weird. I understand Trent was written to be unlikable, but it's just he was so unlikable. I didn't even want to see him in the goddamn screen, So it had a lot of things a lot of issues, we'll say. It also could have been worse, but I understand not wanting to do a sequel to that. Let's see, Jason Richardson. No, wait, I got an idea for a sequel for 2019 Friday the 13th reboot. So want to hear it? Sure. Yeah, let me hear it. John Bruce, Jason drowned in 1957, so he would be about 70 today. That is a good point, John. Michael Myers was wasn't he? He was actually born in 57. Michael Myers was. So he's in his 60s, but Jason, would be in his 70s. That's like a grandparent. So he's also been dead how many goddamn times, buried, all kinds of shit. So yeah. It's almost like, what do you do at this point? Do you have a 70-year-old killer? Is that scary? How old was Mrs. Voorhees? I don't know. But once you hit 70, you're kind of pushing the limit there. So is it just time to reboot or tinker with shit? Who knows? Hopefully we have a new movie soon and we can be discussing this, what decision they make. ATGNAT podcast. Hey guys, age doesn't matter. He's a monster since 6. That's true too. Let's talk about that for a second. So Jason drowned when he was 6 years old. Okay. He's dead, right? But then he comes back in part 2. He's been living in the woods the whole time. I get it. These are slasher films. You're not supposed to think too much about this. But even Sean Cunningham said before when they wanted to make a sequel and have Jason the killer, he's like, "What are you talking about?" He thought it was he thought it was ridiculous, and the audience wouldn't buy it. So yeah, he technically has been a monster since 6. It's crazy because was he alive in 2, 3, 4? Was he dead already and then killed again? It's crazy. So yeah, everything's all relative here. Friday the 13th, as good as some of these movies are, everything's a fucking mess as far as timelines and shit like that. So yeah. Michael Myers reacts. What about a prequel with just Pamela? Like I said, I'd be interested in that, but not a lot of people would. So I just don't think it makes sense from a business perspective for them to finally get out of this legal hell that they've been in and then not have, not use Jason, because Jason's the brand of Friday the 13th. BBB Hardcore Spoiler Movie Reviews. What do you think about a Jason versus Michael movie? Me, I would not be a fan of that. No, I wouldn't either. It just look, Freddy vs. Jason was a fun movie. I always call it like a comic book movie, a love letter to the fans that they teased in '93 when Freddy pulled his mask down. It took 10 years in developmental hell. But as fun as it was to see that, and I'll admit, I was first in line at the theater. I saw it in an empty theater at like 9 a.m. when it opened. I was the only one in line. I was the only one in that theater. That's how pumped I was for this movie when I was, it was what, 2003 is when it came out. So I was 21 years old. Yeah, so I'll admit it. I was excited to see it. I own it. But I'd rather just have, a movie where they're in their own universe. I'd rather have a good scary movie with a lot of good kills and atmosphere and things like that. Let's see here. Jason Richardson, what would you say if instead of the person being killed actually being Jason, it was somebody else trying to follow up the Jason murders from the 80s? So that way it can tie to the main timeline. What would you say if instead of the person being killed actually being Jason, there was somebody else trying to follow up the Jason murders from the 80s? That would be interesting, but like I said, Jason's kind of their brand. I don't think that they would do that. It could be an interesting way to go. It could be a more realistic way to go. I personally wouldn't do it just because Jason's a brand. The Friday the 13th franchise isn't really based on realism. It's schlocky horror movies that are fun. So yeah. Sociopath Survivor. It's a shame Adrian King was killed in part 2. I almost think it would be awesome if they were able to somehow bring back Alice, Ginny, and Tina, played by Lar Park Lincoln, in one more movie against Jason. It'd certainly be an interesting take, but it seems more kind of like a fan film. I actually was never a huge fan of Alice. My final girls in this franchise would probably be Ginny. And as much as, Chris ended up being a nutcase at the end of part 3, I loved her in that movie. Other than that, the final girls in this franchise don't really do much for me. I mean, Lar Park Lincoln, nothing against the actress. I saw her in some of the documentaries, like, Crystal Lake Memories, and what's the one? There's another one called Jason, something Jason. But anyway, she seems like a great actress and a great person. But she kind of, when she was battling Jason as, Carrie, she basically just stood at the or stared at the camera like and made things move. So it's never a huge fan of that movie. Even though, at that point it's the 7th movie in a franchise. So they had to try something different. So I totally get that. But yeah, so for me, I don't know about bringing all those people back, but it would be definitely an interesting idea outside the box. Beef 99 says, would you like Leatherface versus Michael Myers? Personally, for me, no. I'm not a fan of versus movies, although, like I said, I did enjoy Freddy vs. Jason for what it was. But for me personally, I'd rather see everyone in their own universes. Jason Richardson, the guy who said Jason was actually an insane psychotic escape patient, so he didn't feel any pain. So then the real Jason awoke and he came back with a vengeance after like 6 years with new people. Interesting idea. You should write some of these down, because there are ideas that a lot of these ideas they're not something I would personally do, but at the very least they're interesting, because at least you hear so many damn ideas, the same ideas over and over again, and people are hearing other people's ideas and claiming credit for it. So I like that you're thinking outside the box, and maybe that's what Friday the 13th needs at some point, or or maybe you're on the track for some other awesome horror movie. So yeah, I really like those. John Bruce, Ginny was a good actress. She was great in April Fool's Day as well. That's right. She was in April Fool's Day. I forgot about that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she was a very good actress. One of the best in the franchise for sure. Beef 99, what is your favorite movie pick from each slasher franchise? Well, let's see. So Halloween, obviously the original Halloween, although I do love part two. Nightmare on Elm Street. For me, my favorites are the first three. If I had to pick a favorite, if you're talking about the best, I would obviously go the original, but favorite, like the most rewatchable, I would choose the third one, Dream Warriors. I love that movie. It's Jason. It's basically Jason Lives of the Elm Street franchise. So I love that movie. And this franchise, Friday the 13th, 2, 3, 2, 3, and 4 always are interchangeable in my top three for me. Kind of depends on my mode. Gun to my head, I'd pick part 4 just because it's such a great slasher franchise, and it's just this franchise clicking on all cylinders. As far as other franchises go, those are kind of the big three. Some others, would be, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love the original. Part 2, it's obviously a little bit of a different take, some more dark comedy. But yeah, I would go with the original. And then the other one that comes to mind would be Hellraiser. I love the first two. The first one's the best, but most rewatchable for me would be the second Hellraiser. But yeah, so those are probably my favorites in each franchise. Let's see what else we got here. So let's talk a little bit. Sorry, I lost my notes here. So who do you guys think who's your favorite Jason? For me, Richard Brooker will always be my favorite Jason. There's a moment that sells that for me. There's a couple I talked about earlier, where he's tearing up the barn and then where he lifts the mask up after Chris hangs him. So those are my two favorite, those are two reasons that he kind of shows his personality. And then the third one, which I think is the most badass scene of Jason in any movie, is after he shoots the chick with the harpoon gun. Can't remember her name offhand, but he shoots her with the harpoon gun in the eye, right? And then he just kind of drops the harpoon gun and kind of turns as a slow turn and looks at the house up on the hill. It's the first time we ever see Jason in the hockey mask. He kind of slowly trots out holding the harpoon gun, and just the way he shoots her and then just drops it like a fucking pimp, and then just turns. That told me, oh man, Jason's having fun. So that's kind of my favorite moments of Jason right there. And then Ted White obviously just brings a brutality to Jason that we hadn't really seen before in so many different scenes. The kills in part 4 are just brutal. You got him taking Axel in the morgue, taking his head with a hacksaw and twisting it. He puts a knife on that nurse and just goes right. I can't even watch that sometimes, just right through her fucking stomach. The harpoon in the balls to Paul, I think his name is. The Crispin Glover kill, like I talk about. The shower kill where he just takes his hand on that guy's face and is just pressing. I mean, those are just brutal. Just brutal. Let's see what we got here. Captain Brandon Horror Lover. I met Amy Steele for around 20 minutes at an Orlando Spooky Empire show. She is very calm away from the larger crowds. Cool chick. She signed my original April Fool's Day poster. That is awesome. I would love to meet Amy Steele. She played Ginny, for those of you that don't know. Very cool, Brandon. Aiden Lewis says, who would win, Jason from part 7 or Michael from part 4? Good question. I would probably, that is tough. I would probably choose Jason. Oh man, yeah, I'd probably choose Jason from part 7. He's got his spine showing. He's been underwater for God knows how long. But Michael from part 4 is pretty tough too. He's got the stupid looking shoulder pads and a stupid looking mask. But he's got some brutal kills in there too. I'd probably choose Jason from part 7. Even though we don't get to see the kills. He takes like a stupid party favor and shoves it through the chick's eye. He's got some other brutal kills. And he uses a power tool to kill Dr. Cruz. It's kind of that long circular, so he kind of cranks it up. So yeah, I would choose Jason from part 7. Let's see. Jacqueline McHugh and Nick, do you have any hockey masks in your horror collection? Not really. I have this one behind my head right now. It's not a great one. What I really want is a hockey mask from part 3. But yeah, I got to look into that. For either, so I love a mask from part 3 or even part 4 that has the axe mark in it. So yeah, Beef 99. Whoever played Jason in Friday the 13th, 2009. That movie was like the first 4 movies in one. Yeah, that was Derek Mears. Although I'm not a fan of Jason wearing like a coat, because he's got a coat in that movie. He had a coat, it's like an overcoat or some shit, or like a jean jacket or some shit. I'm not a fan of that per se. He had one in Freddy vs. Jason too. But anyway, yeah, Derek Mears is awesome Jason. For me, it goes Brooker, Ted White, and then Derek Mears. Let's see. Beef 99. People hate him, but I love Uber Jason. Yeah, I didn't hate him. He fit in the movie, you know. It's Jason in space, so they had to do something different. I thought the scene was cool, and it kind of brought like a more of a dangerous threat to him, especially to the movie, especially because he's battling a fucking cyborg at the time. You know, that chick that can take her nipples off or whatever. But yeah, so yeah, I thought Uber Jason was necessary for that movie. It definitely was good marketing. That's for sure, because you see Uber Jason on the poster or the DVD cover or whatever the hell you have. So yeah, let's see. Aiden Lewis, what do you think is a bigger mistake, Halloween Resurrection or Jason Goes to Hell? Great question. A bigger mistake. I would probably say, at the time, I would probably say Jason Goes to Hell. Only because it kind of took away from, like I said, the brand. And at that point, you know, it's what, the 9th movie in a franchise. I believe it came out in 93. Sean Cunningham came back. I actually remember being at my 12th birthday. We rented this from Blockbuster the first time I ever saw it. Me and my friends got together for my birthday party. It was maybe 8, 9 of us, you know, and we were watching Jason Goes to Hell. We actually had one of the friends was scared and he went in the backyard and played with my dog. I remember we were pretty mean making fun of him for not watching the movie. But yeah, I think Jason Goes to Hell was probably the bigger mistake just because it took away from the brand. Although, like I said, it's actually a pretty good, maybe not good, but it's a pretty entertaining movie, I'll say. But it's not a very good Friday the 13th movie. Captain Brandon Horror Lover. Jason X was super shitty, but I'll give the movie this much. That hot Canadian tomboy type beating him up for all the 80 seconds or so was oddly cool at the end. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. I believe that was the cyborg chick that I was talking about. Jason Richardson. I want a movie based around Savini Jason that is available in the Friday the 13th game. So I think what he's talking about is that, you know, that Jason that's got all black and fire. Doesn't he have like fire coming out of his eyes, or, you know, fire coming out, or maybe there's fire behind him or something like that. Yeah, it's a pretty cool look. Definitely great for the game. John Bruce, Jason Goes to Hell came out the same week as The Fugitive. I did not know that, John. That's very interesting. The Fugitive is one of my favorite movies of all time. So if I was old enough to see those movies in the theater, I would have seen The Fugitive. I love Harrison Ford. But yeah, The Fugitive, definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. So that couldn't have, I'm curious what the reception of The Fugitive was back then, because it came out, you know, it was a TV show back in like the 70s, 60s, 50s, probably 60s. So yeah, it was interesting. But it obviously had Harrison Ford, so there's your big draw. Beef 99, Jason Takes Manhattan was one of the biggest false advertisings in cinematic history. He's on a boat all the time. Yeah, yep, for sure. That's you know, it's the old joke. It should be called Jason Takes a Boat Ride to Manhattan. And even when he gets to Manhattan, like I said, you know, he spends half the time in alleys in Vancouver. Roy Lowry says, "Is it me or is Friday the 13th pretty damn good?" I don't know if I call it pretty damn good, but it's not as bad as people think. So many people, just like Halloween 3, there's a lot of casual fans. Oh, I'm not watching that. Michael's not in there. You say Friday the 13th part 5, I'm not watching that because Jason's not in there. It doesn't matter at that point. I mean, we don't know it's not Jason till the end, even though, we know. But it's still a Friday the 13th movie. It still feels like a Friday the 13th movie. It still feels like they're in the same universe. So I'd rather watch that, than Jason Takes Manhattan. But that's just me. Let's see here. Josh Schneeber, hey man, woke up at 4:30 a.m. to watch Jason 8. Oh man, that's early. Hey, if you're a fan, I love it. I sometimes I wake up early and I'm in the mood to watch some crazy slasher movies too. Let's see, Jason Richardson, who's more durable, Jason or Michael in your opinion? If you mean by durable, can take kind of the biggest beating, I think that'd have to be Jason. Although it's obviously up for debate on what you mean by that. But I would probably I'd probably choose Jason. Think about it. He's faced bigger threats than Michael. He's faced although Michael's faced his share too, with cops and bullets and shit. But for the most part, Jason, he's faced Tina, who's telekinetic. He's faced the chick we were just talking about from Jason X. So he's faced all different kind of adversaries. So I'd probably say Jason. BBB hardcore spoiler movie reviews. Which one do you like better, part 3 or part 4? That's tough. I'd probably say part 4, but 3 is close. 3 has that nostalgia factor for me because it was the first one I ever saw. But I think part 4 is the better Friday movie and the better movie in general. So I'd say part 4. Aiden Lewis, Halloween 3 is my second favorite movie of the big 3 franchises. Yeah, it's good. It's finally getting its due, which I'm happy about. I'm wondering if it's going to become so, it was underrated for so long. I'm wondering if it's almost getting overrated now. But I enjoy it. I watch it every Halloween season. Let's see here. Rob Lowry, hey Nick, have you seen Tom McLaughlin's new script for a new Friday film he's written? Maybe after the lawsuit we can get it. I have not, but I heard that he did it. So I don't know exactly what it's about, but I remember seeing an article that he was doing it, and it's pretty intriguing. So yeah, I'd be very curious, especially because it's him. In '86, which was 34 years ago now, assuming I can do math. In '86, he was ahead of the curve. So will he be ahead of the curve again and create something, create a way that we can have a Friday the 13th movie that isn't just a retread of the same shit we've seen before, but still true to the essence of the franchise. So I'd definitely be open to that. Let's see here. We're going to go for about 10, 15 more minutes, guys. Let's see here. Sorry. Josh Niebuhr, love Jason 5 because the whole damn movie you can see half of them just dark screams. Yeah, you can see everything in Halloween 5, but that's some of the for some of the other when you say it's dark, that's some of the eeriness of the franchise, especially the original. I was watching a video a while ago. I can't remember who it was, but he was saying, some of in the original, basically, they didn't have a budget. So the lighting was, they didn't have all this extra lighting. So when they're in the woods, you see flashlights and looking in the woods and it's dark, just like it would be in real life. So yeah, I always enjoyed that about the original. Although the original, it hasn't aged the best. It's still definitely better than some of the later sequels. Aiden Lewis, who is a better final girl, Amy Steele or Danielle Harris? Cool question. I would say Amy Steele, just because Ginny's one of my favorite final girls of all time. But how can you not love Danielle Harris? She's awesome. especially as a little kid. I mean, her going up against Michael, the actress Danielle just knocked it out of the park. So yeah. I would choose Amy Steele though, just because I love Ginny in part two. Josh Niebuhr, fourth is a good dark movie. Yeah, yeah. Part four, is very dark. Not just in tone of the movie, but in the lighting. It's lit very darkly. So yeah, I always appreciated that at part four too. Captain Brandon Horlover, a fine franchise ending. In the end, though, Paramount should have made 13 of them, though. Should have made 13 of them, though, ending on a nice swan song on the 13th one, I feel. Yeah, I agree. It's kind of funny that the lawsuit happened, and it stopped us from getting the 13th Friday the 13th movie so far. So, yeah, we've been stuck on 12 for 11 years now. Just crazy. So, yeah. Norbert Rice. He's killing me. He's killing me. Yes, God. For part four, having all these awesome kills, it's got that kill that you just have to laugh about. What's that guy's name? Rob. When he goes down in the basement and Jason kills him with like a gardening tool or whatever. He's yelling, "He's killing me! He's killing me!" It's just pretty funny. So yeah, I agree with you there. Sociopath survivor, the F-13th lawsuit needs to end already. Legal shit takes forever. Seriously. Yeah, I agree. Actually, if you follow, what the hell's his name? Larry, the dude that plays Shelly in part four, part three. Larry Zerner. Yeah, he is actually a lawyer now. So he's been giving kind of updates on the legal battle and what his thoughts are. So what I read, from what I heard, they should have a decision soon at some point in June. So hopefully once that happens, we can get a new movie. Jason Richardson, I wish we got more of human Jason rather than undead Jason. I could not agree more. I love human Jason, or human Jason, because technically he drowned, or did he? It's a whole nother story, as we were talking about earlier. But yeah, I definitely prefer that Jason rather than undead zombie Jason. I agree. Aiden Lewis, do you think part 6 had a good opening, or do you think it could have been better? I like the opening. Like I said, for me, and I know it's a fan favorite, for me, part 6 is kind of in the middle, or probably my fifth favorite. But the opening, I did enjoy the opening. It totally went with the tone of the movie. You got kind of the James Bond credits too, which are cool. But you could kind of see that this Tommy had a personality compared to the Tommy from part 5. And, digging Jason up, it just got into it right away, digging Jason up, and then the lightning. And then, you see Jason's maggot head face right away. And then he tears the heart out of that guy, Horseshack guy. So yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I did like the opening. Let's see here. Courtney Estrada, I wonder if Michael would ever get the Jason treatment. Like Michael dies, then somehow comes back to life again. Kind of like they kill him by lethal injection, and then he gets the electric chair. Bam, back alive. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Jason actually dies, where Michael, can't die, I guess, or has never been killed. But Jason is actually dead and buried. So yeah, we'll see what happens. What I'm guessing with Michael is after either they'll kill him in Halloween Ends or have some kind of ambiguous ending. But if they do kill him, I think they'll just end up rebooting the series. So I don't think he will, but that's kind of an interesting topic there. Let's see. Jason Richardson, human Jason was actually a pretty smart killer. Not as smart as Michael, but smarter than most. Yeah, that's true. He kind of bided his time. Think about parts 2, 3, and 4. I'm trying to think of an example here, but he had some trap set. Think about in part 2, assuming it. Well, actually, it might have been Paul that set that trap for that one guy that got caught in the tree. But yeah, he definitely was smart. Think about. After when Ginny is hiding under the bed and Jason's standing on the chair, in part 3. He made sure to lock the barn door. He had some smart moments, that's for sure. Halloween 4 versus Friday 3. Oh man, that is tough. I'm a Halloween guy, but I would probably choose Friday 3. And the only reason I would do that is just because of Richard Brooker, man. The combination of Richard Brooker and the shitty Halloween 4 mask would make me choose Friday 3. Let's see. Who's everyone's favorite Tommy Jarvis? Mine is Tom Matthews from part 6, says Sociopath Survivor. Yeah, for me, it's either Tom Matthews or Corey Feldman. I'd probably choose Corey Feldman, just because he's Corey fucking Feldman, man, in the 80s. But yeah, Tom Matthews, he was a fun Tommy, that's for sure. Is it Tom Matthews or Tom? I think it's pronounced Tom, even though it's spelled Dom, right? Yeah. Let's see. Captain Brandon Horlover says, tug at my heartstrings as I oddly love both Halloween 4 and Friday 3D. I couldn't decide, but to give a slight edge to part 3D. Yeah, me too, Brandon. I agree. Let's see here. John Bruce, wherever your red dot goes, you bang. Yes, that deputy from part 6. I hated that guy. God, he annoyed me. I get his character. He was supposed to be annoying. But yeah. Aiden Lewis says Halloween 2 versus Friday 2. I just saw this question posed on Twitter the other day, and I hate this question because I love Friday 2 and I want to choose it, but I can't because I got to go Halloween 2. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, even though Friday 2 is as well. But I would choose Halloween 2. Let's see what else we got here. Norbert Rice, Crispin Glover from Back to the Future and Friday 4 is great. Yes, I will not try to recreate that dance scene, but it is awesome. I agree with you there. You can't go wrong with Crispin Glover. And then, the next year he started in Back to the Future. Let's see. Sorry, just looking at questions. Let's see. Josh Niebauer, is that how you pronounce it? Sorry if I butchered that. Movie you can't rewatch. Well, let's stick with the Friday theme. A movie in the franchise I can't rewatch. I mean, they're all rewatchable to a certain extent. You just got to be in the right mood. But if I had to choose one, it'd probably be Jason Takes Manhattan. Just because I'd rather see Jason at Crystal Lake, and at least with the other ones where he's not at Crystal Lake, like Jason Goes to Hell, Freddy vs. Jason, Jason X. At least I can get more entertainment out of them. So if I had to choose, I'd choose Manhattan. Norbert Rice, where do you think the franchise should go whenever this shitstorm ends? Probably is what you want to say. Yeah, I said a little earlier, and I guess I would probably go with rebooting it or doing a sequel to 09. I'd want to reboot it, but I want Derek Mears back. So if you can reboot it with Derek Mears, that's great. If you want to do a sequel and have Derek Mears, that's fine too. I just want Mears back. He's the best Jason since 1984, in my opinion. So that'd be kind of my my one request would be to have Mears back. Let's see. Sociopath Survivor, Deputy Rick Cologne. That's Vinny Gustafaro. He gave me an autograph through the mall. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I would love to have an autograph from anyone in the franchise. That's pretty cool. Yes, Josh, Jason X or Jason 8 over X. Just because Jason X, I feel like I can sit down and enjoy it more for what it is. They knew what they were making with Jason X. They were making a movie of Jason in space. So yeah, I would choose X over Jason Takes Manhattan. Norbert Rice, Derek is number 1. Yes, Derek Mears is awesome. Like I said, he'd be my 3rd favorite Jason, but I totally get where people would think he would be their favorite. He kind of combines the best of all worlds. He's brutal. He runs. He's smart. He puts those traps up. The bear trap, the sleeping bag kill recreation over the fire is awesome. So Derek Mears was the least of that remake's problems. Alex Ponce, hey, how's it going, man? If you could add a twist to the Halloween story, what would it be? A twist. Oh man. Probably no twist would be my twist. Just because I like it simple. In the Halloween universe, I like it simple. That's what made the original so great for me, was the simplicity of the story. However, I get it. You do all these sequels, eventually you're going to run into Michael is, being run by a cult of Thorn or whatever, whatever happens. So I don't know what I would do for a twist. I'd have to think about that. But yeah, that's a pretty good question. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that. That might be another video, actually. Thanks for asking. That's a good question. Courtney Estrada, how do you think they will kill Myers in Halloween Ends? That is a good question. I don't know. All I know is it better not involve fire, because that's been done to death now, with Halloween 2 and Halloween 2018 and shit like that. So I just would not involve fire. You can't cut his head off again. So yeah, I'd probably have some kind of sacrifice, Laurie sacrificing herself, and her and Michael dying together would probably be what I would choose off the top of my head. Josh Niebuhr, single best movie out of the big three. Child's Play 2 deserves to be mentioned. If by big three, I guess for me, the big three would be the Friday franchise, Halloween franchise, and the Nightmare franchise. If you want to include Child's Play in there, I do love Child's Play 2. Although it's, the original is probably a better movie per se. Child's Play 2 is my favorite in that franchise. If you go single best movie, though, it'd be Halloween. And I wouldn't even have to think about it. Let's see here. Siznak says, RZ, Rob Zombie, I assume, should make a Friday remake as great as the Halloween remakes. I feel like Rob Zombie would be better served. I feel like he'd be good for maybe a Texas Chainsaw remake, which I think they're doing that again. As far as Friday, I'd rather have him do Friday remake than another Halloween movie. I feel like Zombie has such a great directing talent, but I just don't want his hick writing, his white trash writing. So if someone else writes it, I'd definitely be down for a zombie remake. We're gonna go about 5 more minutes, guys. Let's see. Let's see. Courtney Estrada. Oh, a good twist. Judith's still alive somehow and in hiding. That would be funny. That would be funny. Michael stabbed her. They threw him in the hospital, and somehow, she's alive. She'd be like 80 years old or something now. Well, let's see. If she was 17 in 63, that means she would be born in what, 40? Oh, I can't do math. 46. So she would be, a grandparent right now. But yeah, that would definitely be an interesting twist. I actually never thought of that. That's very interesting. Captain Brandon Horlover. See, I love Rob Zombie's groove metal music in his movies and interviews, but I always felt like he should have handled the mid-2000s TMC reduxes as well. Yep, I agree with you. I wonder if we'll get a new Halloween Blu-ray set for the next big franchise anniversary in the coming years or so. 4K scans would be nice. Yeah, I feel like we will, especially with all these movies that have been coming out now lately. And I feel like we will, basically because they're not going to turn down an opportunity to make more money. They can, basically repackage some of the old box sets and include new interviews, with all the people that are coming back for Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends and all that shit. I feel like they'd be dumb not to have some cool box sets, and I'll probably fucking buy it because I'm a sucker for that shit. Alex Ponce, or Ponce, sorry, let me know if I'm pronouncing that right. What do you think can be done to give the Nightmare franchise life? Ooh, that is a good question. The Nightmare franchise has no excuse like Friday franchise has as far as being in legal hell. It just has the fact that the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot from 2010 sucked shit. And actually, the problem with it wasn't even Jackie Earl Haley's performance. It was just the characters were, not likable at all. It was, and too much CGI. It was terrible. So what I think can be done, um, I don't know. Um, I I honestly don't know. They'll have, look. There'll be another Nightmare movie. Um, well, how do they get people excited about it? I don't know. If Robert England doesn't come back, and I don't think he should, to answer Josh's next question, because he's just too old at this point. I feel like they're going to need his public blessing on whoever's playing him next, whoever's playing Freddy next, and and just maybe have him have some cameo in the movie. I don't like cameos like that. I just don't like that. But I feel like they need a way to get the fans excited again. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Nightmare franchise. Josh Niebuhr, Peter Jackson's script. Are you talking about his Freddy vs. Jason script? Where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was a courtroom battle. And there were maybe that was the Fredhead ones. I've read so many Freddy vs. Jason scripts over the years, mostly when I was, in my 20s. And I just, couldn't get enough of this shit. But I think, you're right. Peter did have a script for that. Obviously ultimately went to the safer route. But I think it was either, it was in the courtroom. Freddy was on trial or something like that. And there were a bunch of Fred heads and shit like that. Oh, yes. No. Kids beat up Freddy. Yes, that's it. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, nobody's scared of Freddy anymore, and the kids purposely take sleeping pills to, beat the shit out of Freddy. But one of them dies accidentally or something like that, and gives Freddy his power back or something. So yeah, that would be interesting. Captain Brandon Horlever. I think the Cult of Fredheads was David S. Geyer that went to do all the comic book adaptations. Yeah, you're probably right. I knew I probably got them confused or something. There were so many of them out there. They're actually cool to read, and kind of do an alternate universe. Of what if they went with one of these scripts? What would have happened? Ultimately, what we got was a safe route, probably a smart route. Pending, some of the other scripts I haven't read. But yeah, what we got it was okay. Like I said, it was okay. It's entertaining. For what it is. So yeah, let's see here. Maybe they could jump, according to Estrada, maybe they could jump off from a new Nightmare somehow. That would be cool. Dave McCrae, he is a YouTuber, awesome YouTuber. But Dave McCrae is actually playing Freddy Krueger in a fan film that the guys from Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow are creating. And it's a fan film where it's a direct sequel to New Nightmare. And they actually got the kid, I can't think of his name, but the kid from New Nightmare, and he's also in Pet Sematary, and he's in like Full House and some shit like that. The kid is actually coming back. Dylan. It's called Dylan's New Nightmare. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see that. What do we got going on here? Some people talking shit. All right, guys, we're going to go for another 2 or 3 minutes. Nothing against them, but the two that I read were not overly good. I don't know. And we're going to block some people. All right, so another couple minutes. Yep, Brandon, it looks like it's a spamming room somehow. I don't know how bots. I don't know what's up with these bots. But yeah, Courtney Estrada. Yep, I think he's onto something with that, McCrae. You're a good YouTuber too. Thanks, Courtney. Appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know where these bots are coming from. I don't know what the hell is going on with that. I've seen it on a lot of channels. But yeah, why watch if you think it's stupid? If you don't like it, don't watch. We're just here talking Friday the 13th. Obviously, it's called Friday the 13th Talk. So go somewhere else. But whatever. I'm not going to waste my time anymore on losers. Bronco Juggalo Talks Movies. What up to you, man? Hey, man, how's it going? All right, guys, that is going to be it for me tonight. I'm going to try to do these every Tuesday, have some cool topics. If you guys feel like commenting on my page, some cool topics, yeah. Captain Brandon Horlover, Also, what state are you in again, Nick? I am actually in Wisconsin. Up north here, from wherever you guys are watching. Weather's finally starting to turn. Just need some shit to open up, and especially some bars because we love our drinking up here. Yeah. All right. So, hey guys, I really appreciate everyone for coming in and talking. This is so fun. Getting a lot of conversations. You guys are all awesome. So take care, and I will see you guys next week.